103.9. In one word, fresh. In step. Insightful. Inclusive. Intriguing. Innovative. Interesting. Enlightening. We bring you In Focus. It's a deeper look at issues affecting your family, your neighborhood, your world. This is In Focus on WNBM Bronxville, New York. New York's best mix of R&B. Radio 103.9.
Good morning and welcome to In Focus. I'm your host, Marc Clarke. This morning we have a special 1-hour edition we're very excited about. My guest will be Rachel Cheeks-Givan, the chair and co-founder of National Give Back for Kids campaign, and Brooklyn boxer Daniel Jacobs. We'll start the show with Rachel Cheeks-Givan after we check news with Steve Greenfield. What's up, Steve?
Thanks, Mark. It's 54 and mostly cloudy, on our way up to 53 degrees today. And here are the stories you're talking about on Radio 103.9. Dozens of students were displaced after a fire broke out at a second-floor dorm at Stony Brook University. The fire broke out around 7 p.m. on Saturday in the O'Neill dormitory, and it took firefighters about an hour to get everything under control. No one was injured, but it is unclear how long the students will be displaced. President Obama said that the most powerful tool to fight ISIS is to prevent their recent terror attacks from injecting fear in communities or governments around the world.
We will take back land that they are currently in. We will cut off their financing. We will hunt down their leadership. We will dismantle their networks and their supply lines, and we will ultimately destroy them.
Yesterday, the Jets beat the Colts a score of 20-7, and today they'll take on the Texans at 1 p.m., while the Giants go after the Redskins also at 1 o'clock. It's currently 54 degrees and mostly cloudy. I'm Steve Greenfield on Radio 103.9, New York's best mix of R&B.
Welcome back to In Focus. I'm your host, Marc Clarke, and this morning I have Rachel Cheeks-Givan, who is the chair and co-founder of the National Give Back for Kids campaign. Welcome to the show, Rachel. How are you?
I'm good. And yourself, Mark?
I'm good. I'm excited because you're excited because you had a big weekend.
Yes.
It started on Friday. It's going down as we speak. Today's the last day for people to get involved. So tell us about your organization.
Well, Mark, it started about 5 years ago. So we are very excited because we've been on this journey in terms of getting the organization up and running for the last 5 years, really focused on inspiring adults and children to want to give back to our youth and our community. Now, it sounds simple, but there was a lot of work that went in behind that. We took time out to develop a strategic plan. We did a lot of research to identify where's the needs and opportunities. And at the end of the day, we realized that there was a common theme throughout, that our communities need help and they need volunteers. And it was interesting that people did not know where to go sometimes.
Yeah.
And people want to volunteer, right? And I think about when I was growing up, I went to Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club. I swam there for many years, but I was fortunate to have 2 coaches that volunteered their time and gave back. But that's not the case for our youth today. I mean, so we wanted to, as an organization, inspire more people to want to give back, and then also create that sense of awareness and that sense of urgency within our community on why it's so important to do so.
So it's the National Give Back for Kids campaign.
That's right. And we're using campaign, but it is something that's going to be ongoing. Like right now, as we mentioned, we started on Friday evening, getting people to call in and volunteer. Yesterday, all day, people were doing that as well. But this is ongoing, including today. This is something that we want people to change their mindsets about volunteering and knowing that it's very important. If we want to change lives in our community, we have to get involved and serve. We just can't sit back and let others do it for us.
Preach, Rachel. Now, let's throughout the show just give the number because, again, people are standing by waiting for you to call. So, it's going down, and a lot of times we mean to call or we say we're going to call or you're listening and say, we should give me the number. Let's give the number throughout the show so people don't have any excuse. What number should they call?
You've got it. You call 1-800-GIVE-BACK, and that's 1-800-448-3222. And this is a volunteer-a-thon. So this is not about calling in and pledging dollars. We want people to pledge their time. That's what makes this a little bit unique and different. So you're going to call in and you're actually saying, I commit myself to give back to the community. And I needed a goal. And I did set, as an organization, we did set a very aggressive goal of $1 million is what we're calling it. So we're going to translate the time into a market value standard rate. And our goal is to raise 1 million hours in terms of dollars of time over the course of this campaign. This has never been done before.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And again, tell us again about the background of the organization. Where are you located? What do you do? Who is involved? That kind of thing.
Sure. We are located in the Bronx, and it really was the organization, members of the organization getting together. It was interesting. There was a website, volunteermatch.com, and we said, let's go on that website and see where the volunteer opportunities are in our own neighborhood in the Bronx. And it was interesting. The nearest organization was in the city, and it was the Jewish Center. Now, we're not saying there's nothing wrong with volunteering for the Jewish Center, but we knew there were tons of grassroots organizations along the way from where we lived in the Bronx before you get to Manhattan. So our goal was to really set some sort of process or a way for people to understand how to go about doing that. And it took time. We really did go out there. We had road shows. I call them road shows, but they really was going out there, and we would call them actually town hall meetings. So we went to various cities. We went to 12 different cities over the last couple of years, promoting the awareness in those communities and saying, you can empower yourselves to do this. Don't wait for other people to come into the community and want to help your children. You can do it yourself. And so the common themes that we found throughout the various cities is that communities do need help. There's no doubt about that. But it encouraged them to say, that's right, we can actually do this ourselves. We have organizations. Why aren't these organizations coming together and helping each other, right? You have various ones that are in the same community. So we just had a symposium, which was about 2 weeks ago out of Mercy College. And that was really our coming out publicly for the first time. And it was interesting for me, born and raised in the Bronx, in the Soundview section of the Bronx. I had no idea there were so many organizations that are involved in giving back to our children. I knew about Kips Bay because that's where I went. But there are a ton of them that deal with track, swim, after school programs. There's the sororities, the fraternities that are in the communities. But what's lacking is the awareness and people understanding that they exist. Your children can get involved, but more importantly, as an adult, you should want to get involved and want to volunteer and give back. And when I think about the Girl Scouts, my daughter's involved in that, they're always looking for volunteers.
Right.
So we want to be that vehicle that inspires and motivates people to want to do that.
Well, I love the fact that what you mentioned is the coming together. So today, organizations, in fact, let's challenge organizations to call and pledge support from an organizational standpoint, because what I like about your organization is it's a coming together of everybody, just saying, hey, we want to help. So the Greek organizations, the motorcycle groups, all the groups that are listening, or if you're involved in a group, I challenge you to call the number right now and pledge your time, because that's what it's all about. That's what your organization is supposed to be doing anyway.
That's right. And it's 1-800-GIVE-BACK. That's 1-800-448-3222. And you mentioned various organizations. It could even be someone that has IT expertise.
Exactly.
And when you think about in the Bronx, they just had a tech event because they wanted to promote technology to create jobs in the Bronx. And the New York State Assemblyman, Michael Blake, spearheaded that event. And what it was for us was you're sparking now volunteers to give back time on helping young children to code, to learn about the technology field. So it's different areas. It's not the traditional that people think of, well, I'm going to go volunteer, go down to my local YMCA or YWCA, but there's various different ways. Whatever skill set you have, you should want to feel inspired. I want to challenge, the organization or my peers to want to help a child learn something new.
And I think this is something, like you say, other communities do all the time, and they have the culture to support it. But I think what we are figuring out is that we have to, who cares more about our communities than the people who live there? And but I think that whole feeling of someone's going to save us, we have to get over that, and then even for those of us who had some degree of success, the feeling that, I always say, if you have had a certain degree of success, if you were raised in a neighborhood and had a family that cared about you and parents that gave you great advice, if you can't say, I do this to give back to my community, it's time for you to give back to your community. And there's no excuse. I mean, we all have to serve. And I think, you can't stand around and look at the news and say, oh, what's the problem, blah, 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 if you can't say that you're definitely giving back or doing something to make change. And so I challenge all fathers out there. I challenge all families out there to call the number and to pledge your time and volunteer. And the number, once again, is
1-800-448-3222. And you said something very important that I want to highlight, is that we are empowered to take care of our communities. And a lot of times people forget that. So I know for myself, I was fortunate in the area that I was. Maybe not a lot of people were going to school, going on to college, but I had my parents there pushing me to do that. I had great support from a local organization with the Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club that really kept me off the streets. I was there while my parents worked from 3 to 6 o'clock, and then all day Saturday, that's all I did was swim, right? I had no other, nowhere else really to go. But what's interesting is that I also knew the importance of having people like that take their time out to help me. And there's no reason why, once I've worked for a great organization, a Fortune 500 company, traveled all over the world, that now I can give back and let somebody know that it is possible. Because a lot of times these kids are being told, you're here in this community, you can't get out. And that's not the case. But if we all come together, how many lives can we save, or how many opportunities we can create for the young children that are in our communities to advance? And if we all did it, there should be no reason why that there are children out there that are still trying to discover and figure it out.
And Rachel, the thing is, you are blessed like me to have those people. Now that you have a family, and now that you are, now that we're grown-ups, we think about, you mentioned twice already your swimming instructor or the organization that helped you, the Boys and Girls Club. It's like there were people, they were almost like angels in our lives that guided us and provided, like you said, safety and a lot of times a skill set that I think you can almost take for granted. Like some kids don't have that. We had it. I've talked about this before. Mr. South was my flag football coach. Mr. South took us all. He was a white guy. He took all of us, 99% black kids, every night after flag football practice. Mr. South took us home. And I'm talking about, now that I have a family and I complain about picking up my kid going back and forth, you just think about these people. They really were angels. And I reached out, I called to tell his wife to thank her for allowing him to have that time with us. So I think all of us, again, if you're listening, if you had that person in your life and you're not doing anything, it's important that you do something, because I think that's the part. You almost do take it for granted, because we had people, like you said, yours was the Boys and Girls Club, mine was the YMCA and different activities, where these specific people, made me a better man, and I remember them, and you never forget them. And so now it's our time and our chance to be that person to somebody else.
Right. And you touched upon it. There's so many coaches out there that are on their own. Right. When I think about, you mentioned flag football with my nephews. They're like future NFL players. They're 9 years old. They're fraternal twins, and they're on a team. And when I think about the team, the Bronx Saints, right? There's over 250 kids that are on that team. But in order for that to run successfully and do what they're supposed to do and get them excited about something else, that's of importance to them, that they enjoy, you need volunteers to be able to keep that going. And you think about the one coach that was doing that, taking kids home, how much easier that would be, or how many more kids can be on the team if you had more people that got involved.
Definitely. So we are asking you to volunteer, and we have a goal here. We got 1 million hours, volunteer hours. What'd you call them?
Vola dollars. It's trademarked with our organization, and our goal is 1 million Vola dollars. So we're going to translate. We're going to use a standard rate, because we know everybody's time might be different. Everybody thinks their time might be worth more than someone else's, but we're going to give it a standard rate. and get to $1 million what we're calling Bala dollars.
Give that number once again.
And the number is 1-800-GIVE-BACK, and that's 1-800-448-3222.
And again, my guest is chairman and co-founder of the National Give Back for Kids campaign, Rachel Cheeks-Givan. And we're going to come back. We're going to take a quick break and come back. It's going down right now. It's going down right now. This Give Back started on Friday. And again, we're asking people who are listening, if you haven't made the commitment to get involved with your community to give back, this is a perfect chance to do it. And don't hesitate. Go ahead and do it. Again, the number one more time is 1-800-GIVE-BACK or 1-800-448-3222. I'm Marc Clarke. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to In Focus on the all-new Radio 103.9.
There's always a reason to log on to radio1039ny.com. Here's Roxy with What's Up on the Web.
What's going on, Radio 103.9 fam? There's nothing better than spending time with the family during the holidays. And with Thanksgiving coming up, we want to make sure that happens. So we're helping you win $4,000 to spend Thanksgiving together with your loved ones. Just make sure to register online right now at radio1039ny.com. Happy holidays.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Radio 1039NY. Get at us on Facebook at Radio 1039 New York. And of course, listen anywhere at www.radio1039ny.com.
And welcome back to In Focus. My guest, Rachel Cheeks-Givan, the chair and co-founder of the National Give Back for Kids campaign, which is in effect now. It's been going on since Friday. And Rachel, we have like a lot going on today, right?
Oh, today is the highlight. This evening,
okay.
We're very excited about it. The energy's been building since Friday evening, as you mentioned. We had a Friday evening, a number of community-based organizations that we felt we gave them the opportunity to come together and network with each other, share best practices. We came together for a couple of hours at Mercy College. Yesterday, all day, we had the phones ringing. People were calling in, pledging their time. But tonight, this evening is going to be just as exciting because this is really where we're going to have some entertainment.
Okay.
And I'm excited. We have Brenda Blackman, who's been with us since Friday evening. She's going to be our host of the show. And she's been with us from the very beginning. We used to have fundraisers, and Brenda would be there with us. So we felt it was fitting to bring her back for our official campaign kickoff. And then we have a song that was co-written by Hosea James Givan, one of the co-founders, and Xavier Lewis. He was from America's Got Talent.
Oh, cool.
He's a recording star out of Atlanta, and he's flew in to actually sing the song live, and it's about giving back. So, Mark, you don't hear too many songs on the radio about inspiring people to do that. So that was part of our strategic plan, that we felt that we needed some sort of video, music video, that portrayed the images to let people see this is real, but more importantly, it's got a good beat, it's got a good vibe, and people hear it, and you want to like say, give back, and then this way it'll stay in their minds that this is something that they need to do. We also have Wendy Rashad, who's a gospel singer, more fitting, for a Sunday. And she is going to sing a couple of songs for us. So people are going to be sitting in the auditorium, listening to the entertainment. We're going to have the phones ringing. We're going to have various community leaders come in, take phone calls. Like I said, Michael Blake will be there taking calls. And it's just going to be a great time. And we're hoping that at the end of that, it's not the end. That we really did our job in terms of inspiring people beyond this weekend to really go back and think about, where did I go when I was young? Do they need my help? Or is there somewhere else that I need to go to? And as we mentioned before, we're not trying to do the same thing as somebody else. Our competitive advantage is that we want you to know about those organizations that are around the corner from you that you may not be aware of. But we want to help those grassroots organizations. There's a lot of small ones, middle-sized ones, there's big ones. Everyone needs help. But right now we want to start with the Bronx, and that's our goal. We want it to go national. We were thinking big. Let's try to hit the nation, but let's start with the Bronx first. This is where I'm from. This is where our organization started. We'll start here. We'll get the best practices down, use this as a pilot, and then our goal is to go nationwide. And then my vision is that we would go global at some point.
What's the so again, if people are listening right now, how can they go to the event tonight? The location, what time do they need to be there? All that kind of information. How much does it cost, or how does that work?
Right. So we've had some great sponsors that I didn't mention. So Fresh Direct was one of our main sponsors, as well as Marriott Residence Inn, because it's right there at the Hutch Metro. So Mercy College is there as well at the Hutch Metro, and they offered up their auditorium. They have a brand new studio in which BronxNet, one of our major sponsors, is allowing us to host the show live.
Oh, great.
So it'll be from 7 to 9 p.m. You can come down to come down tonight to Mercy College, sit in the auditorium. You can network with others out in the main lounge area. But we were fortunate, that Mercy College was really the one that made this happen for us, because we needed some sort of space to be able to have the phone set up. And we have to thank Verizon too. Verizon came in and set up a number of phones for us and made sure that this was actually possible for people to call in at the volunteer-a-thon. So it was a partnership with a number of people. But just think, one idea on how it has blossomed into so many people getting involved. And along the way, all I hear is, whether you're from Mercy College, Verizon, well, how can I help? How can I give back? So it always sparks that conversation around, right, I do this. Why am I not giving back to, some youth? So it's been great along the way.
Okay, so Rachel, I come up to Mercy College tonight. I can actually volunteer there. Can I sign up there?
Yes, absolutely.
And what am I supposed to be wearing? What am I? How do I?
Come as you are, how you feel comfortable. But you touched on something very important. You can have organizations come in. We do want you to come and register your organization, because we want to help you. This is the reason why we're here, so that we can match up those that are actually either calling in or coming physically in and pledging their time. We want to make sure that we're matching them up to the organizations. The next question might be, how do we make sure that these are, people that are, okay to volunteer in the right organization? We're going to spend some time after this volunteer-a-thon and actually vet organizations, people, go through that whole process, and you won't actually be pledging your time or actually giving of your time until 2016. So we're going to go through all that process, but we really wanted to kick off this year and get the process going, get the database going with those organizations as well as those people that want to get involved.
And this is the inaugural volunteer-a-thon.
This is the first ever that we know of across the country.
Oh, great.
Where people are actually someone's taking the time out to really say, look, come on in. You can pledge your time. We're not asking you to pledge money. It's not that our organization can't use the money, of course.
Can people give money?
You can give money.
Okay.
I mean,
you guys are a 501c3.
We are a 501c3 organization. We have been fundraising. There are things that we would like to do right now. We're using the phones to pledge time, but we also want to, create an app. Get use technology that takes money, of course, to design things. Eventually, the vision is, can we have our own center? That's big visionary, and having our own community center, perhaps, where we can help people provide that vehicle for people to give back, or actually provide services ourselves to be able to give back to our community. So we have lots of projects, but we're starting off now with the volunteer-a-thon.
So Rachel, how does it feel? I mean, this is kind of like, this is the last night of the volunteer-a-thon. You've seen the vision from the start. Take us on that journey. How does it feel to kind of have, like you said, it started with an idea, it started with a thought, and to see it come to fruition? How are you feeling?
It's amazing. I've worked in an organization where people come up with an idea, there's a vision, but there's a lot of resources behind it. And we've had a great core team of people that have been involved with us from the very beginning, that believed in it. And then along the way, we've added so many more people that have really taken it on and embraced the idea. And as I said at the symposium, we had a number of organizations that showed up. We had a number of people that gave back their time and actually sat on panels to talk about various topics. So for me, I couldn't ask for anything more. I just wish the whole team was here with me. And I don't want to start off naming names and then I end up missing, because it truly is an army to get this up and running. And it did go from an idea, and we're hoping still the vision has not been realized, that we go even bigger And that day will come soon, I'm sure.
And tell me about, with the Bronx. Tell me about you grew up in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
You benefited from growing up in the Bronx in a lot of ways. Tell me, what does the Bronx mean to you?
Well, to me, the Bronx, that's my heart and soul, and maybe I don't know if you know this, but it's booming right now. It's not with the same perception that people have had. It used to bother me when I would tell people I'm from the Bronx, because I have to say it that way, the Bronx. And then they would have a certain perception, right? And, right now there's a change and a movement in the Bronx. And the reason why we're doing the volunteer-a-thon now is because we feel that movement. There's been a lot of insurgence of different programs. There's change with the Hutch Metro. That whole area is brand new. There's a lot of development. So we feel that this is the time now, and we're catching a wave that the culture around the Bronx is changing. And one of the cultures that we want to change is around volunteering. If you're going to grow a business, right, we're ready to grow and have all these new businesses, why aren't we putting in the same kind of energy into helping our children, right? We have elections every, 2 to 4 years. We're getting all excited. People come out and they vote. But are people really doing that, having that same sense of urgency to want to get back to our children and community? We want to remind people of that and spark that inspiration for them to want to do that all the time.
And this bang the number out, because I know, the Bronx is one of our hottest areas for our radio station. And so we get a lot of support from the Bronx. So again, I know the Radio 103.9 listeners are going to not only volunteer their time, but actively volunteer after they volunteer their time. Again, that number, I'll hit it off, is 1-800-GIVE-BACK, 1-800-448-3222. Operators are standing by right now, have been standing by since Friday. And again, I'm so excited because this is the thing that I'm just big on the service part. The service part, I think, is really the only solution for our neighborhoods, with people giving back. It's almost like in the old days, when people actually put in blood, sweat, and tears into the area where they grew up, and they looked out for the kids, and so, like you said, I love the fact that you are getting everybody to work together. Organizations that already existed, get them involved, because I think a lot of people create new organizations, but like you said, there's so many out there that we're not even aware of them. So this is great. That I think the volunteer piece is just it's a universal message.
And when I think about, as an adult now I have my daughter. We want to create leaders, future leaders, right? So new corporate citizens of the world is what I would call them. If they don't have this skill set or thinking about giving back, then I feel like we've done some sort of disservice, right? Whereas right now, a lot of them are thinking, give me, right?
Yes.
And, a number of us, we feel like we want to give them as much as we can, or more than what we had. But in the same token, if you miss that opportunity to teach them about giving back, who knows what they'll end up like. Yeah. They have to have that balance of service. And we actually get our daughter involved, in a lot of service projects. My hope is that she will see that as an opportunity for her to want to do that. But it is building leadership characteristics, right?
That's it.
And children.
That's it. Again, my guest for today, Rachel Cheeks-Givan, who is the chair and co-founder of the National Give Back for Kids campaign, which is going on right now. And you can call. This will be going on until 9 o'clock this evening.
We're live on BronxNet this evening. So if you want your voice heard, potentially, you want to, this evening from 7 to 9, we're live, but we're going to be taking phone calls in.
1-800-GIVE-BACK, 1-800-448-3222. And continuing our 1 hour In Focus special, coming up, we'll talk with Brooklyn boxer Daniel Jacobs. We'll be talking about his fight coming up on December